Hello, everybody. My name is Jim Farmer. I'm the festival director of Out on Film, Atlanta's LGBTQ Film Festival. This is our 36th year, and we have some amazing films this year. One of my absolute favorites is our centerpiece screening of Cora Bora, which is screening on Friday, September the 22nd at 7 p.m. at the Midtown Arts Cinema. And we have the director of Cora Bora, Hannah Pearl Utt, with us right now. Thanks so much for talking to us.
Thanks for talking to me.
Absolutely. My husband Craig and I saw this at Frameline and we just absolutely fell in love with the movie, as did everybody. So congratulations. Can just talk us about, how this project came to you.
The script was sent to me. Thank you, first of all. Thank you for seeing it at Frameline. That theater's amazing.
Exactly.
Um, the script came to me through my friend Tristan, who wound up becoming an executive producer and a co-producer on the movie.
Okay.
His best friend Rhiannon had written it. Rhiannon has executive produced a bunch of movies that I love. She did Circus of Books and Shiva Baby, but is also a writer. And this was a script that Tristan had always loved, and Tristan's a fellow filmmaker and thought of me, just kind of floated it. And I just fell in love with Cora. It was like a character I had loved in my life, but never seen represented on screen in that way. So I sent it to my producer, Mallory, and Mallory's not typically drawn to chaotic people. Um, so she was kind of like, tell me why you love this person. And I was like, well, she's clearly going through something.
Yeah.
And at this point, that part of, I don't want to give anything away, but sort of the turn didn't exist in the script.
Yeah.
It was something that I was sensing because I have loved a lot of damaged people, but it wasn't explicit in what we were reading. And so we brought that to Rhiannon, and then it turned out that actually connected to a personal experience she had had. And we kind of realized that that was in there, but just not teased out yet. So we developed the script a little bit more. And then Meg was the first person we went out to. We had a really short list of people we thought could pull it off. Or not pull, it's a hard needle to thread when you have a character who is so alienating, and also ultimately sympathetic. And
Yes.
that's like Meg's specialty.
Yes. She's kind of a hot mess, but you like her so much and you so root for her. The character is so fully dimensional, and you're right, Meg just nails every aspect of it. But what do you think it is about Meg that makes her be able to embody this character so well?
I I think Meg is um I think she's a hyper aware person. And I think her powers of observation are acute. And so she is able to both see the dysfunction in a person um, and what is lovable about them. And I think that's how she's able to kind of embody both. I think I think she approaches her work with a lot of empathy, even when she is like skewering these people we see her um, do in her characters. You can tell she also like her heart kind of breaks and fills for them at the same time.
Exactly. Obviously, Meg is the star of the film, but this is very much an ensemble piece, and you have some terrific performers. Can you sort of talk about just fleshing out the rest of the cast here?
The cast, yeah. Um, Jojo was one of the first people I really wanted for Justine, and she was a little uh, honestly hesitant because um, she's a very high status person, just kind of naturally, and Justine on the script level was more I guess Jojo just like doesn't really take any shit, and she's not a codependent. And I think like Justine really is.
Yeah.
And so we had to kind of find where the character intersected with Jojo's personality. And I actually think it brought so much to the character I think it's really relatable to see a person like Jojo in a relationship with someone like Cora, because all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, I guess I have some codependent dynamics in my life as well. When it's someone you don't typically see kind of putting themselves second to someone with a lot of needs. Sorry, I have mommy brain is real. We're chugging along.
Yeah.
And then Aiden is one of my dear friends. She plays Riley. And she played my love interest in my first movie. And we talked about like making sure that Riley struck a balance between but you wanted to understand why Cora would be intimidated by her, but then you also needed to understand why she would put herself in this messy relationship situation. Sure. Kind of all of these characters you kind of had to like buy as people who would wind up in a codependent mess, but also want to root for. Sure. So we really just did like work on kind of figuring out like how the actors could relate to that themselves. Manny, that character we thought we could like go a bunch of different directions with, but when I finally met with Manny, it just made so much sense. He's such a sweet soul. You're like, yeah, of course you're a person who attracts broken people because you are so you're such a salve. Like you have the capacity for this. Salve is maybe not that's I don't know. But yeah, all of the actors we cast had like a really high EQ, a great sense of humor, and some personal connection to a codependent dynamic.
So just have to mention Thomas Mann and Margaret Cho because they make, great additions to the
Oh, they were wonderful. I mean, with the comedy cameos, it was just like all we had to say was Meg Stalter, and people were like, "Finally, she's starring in something."
Did you film this after the pandemic, or did you start before? How was that?
It was right in the middle. It was after a big surge. I mean, that was kind of part of how we were able to do it, is everyone had this kind of moment between jobs. So we were able to get just an amazing team willing to work at this budget level. And because we shot in LA, people could actors could pop in for a day.
Sure.
But we were masked and we had to do the testing and all of that, which sucked. I mean, it was amazing that we were able to do it safely, and we didn't have any big mishaps. We didn't have to shut down. But directing in a mask is, I mean, I was doing crazy things with my eyes. Yes. And yeah, we did do it during the pandemic.
This, as we were watching this reminded me a lot of Before You Know It, another comedy drama with a very rich ensemble. And again, I filmed that, my husband and I saw it Frameline and then brought it out on film. But can you sort of talk about the experience of working on Before You Know It? And I just, that was such an amazing cast. I'm such a huge Judith Light fan, but can you just sort of talk about working on Before You Know It?
God, Judith is so wonderful. Before You Know It was, wow, it was a 10-year process. um, Jen Tulloch, my co-star and co-writer in it, and I first started working on it in our early 20s when we were like, let's make a movie. And then cut to a decade later and we were like world weary and now had this like farce premise, but all of these very real things we wanted to explore. And I think that marriage is what for me made Before You Know It so special, was that we had this kind of big farcical / melodramatic premise, but then we really tried to bring an emotional reality to it to explore complicated family dynamics and codependency, which apparently is the only thing I like to talk about. And Judith came on. We met Judith through the Sundance Lab. She came to workshop those scenes when I was doing the director's lab. And again, just brought so much of her own emotional intelligence to the character that we really wound up rewriting it based on what we figured out with Judith specifically.
Yeah.
And that was Judith is a bit of a Meg where you're like, we got Judith Light, and people are like, okay, fine, I want to do it. It really helps to have these like incredible people vouch for the project, and
Sure.
And people want to work with them. And Alec was one of those as well, because Alec Baldwin plays a small role in it. And just his support early on helped legitimize the project in a big way. And then Mandy was the cherry on top. He filled it out. He was our last addition to the family, Mandy Patinkin. And then it was me just getting to work with all of these iconic older actors, being like, I can do this. No, I can definitely do this.
Yeah.
Believe me.
So how has the strike affected you?
Well, the timing in one regard was sort of great because I had a baby 3 months ago. So leading up to that, I was walking the line every day and getting my exercise. And I got to be I got to be a pregnant star. Like, yes, I know I am really showing up. And it was nice to, I got to see a lot of people I hadn't seen in a long time. It sucks. It's like it's very hard on obviously everybody who has a career in this industry or wants a career in this industry or not even. It's just been like kind of disheartening on an existential level, thinking about where we're at with the huge divide between labor and the people benefiting off of that labor. But yeah, there's no but. It sucks.
All right. Yeah. So what is next for you, and what is next for Cora Bora?
Well, I don't know. We'll see what happens with the strike. I have a movie written by Aline Brosh McKenna that I signed on to right before the strike. So hopefully that we can pick that back up once an agreement is reached.
Yeah.
Please soon. And Mallory and I, my producer on Cora and Before You Know It, have a queer rom-com that we are hoping to get off the ground again, called Best Original. And I really want to do a horror. I'm working on a horror script.
Yeah.
And then Cora is coming out around Valentine's Day of 2023. It was bought by a company called Brainstorm Media. We'll do a small theatrical, and it'll be available for purchase and streaming.
That is great. Congratulations. I always like to close with this because obviously as a film festival, we're all about representation. But can you talk about why queer representation is just so important?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think it's the more you see something, the more you're exposed to something, the less alien it feels, obviously.
Mhm.
But I think it's really important to tell queer stories, or any kind of anything that represents a diverse experience, in a way that is about just like the universal things we all go through.
Okay.
um Obviously being specific about um the characters in your story, but I've just found that, like, the more I can kind of focus on those things that we can all relate to, the more I get my dad and his golf buddies
Okay.
being like, um feeling connected to these characters who might otherwise feel very different from them. Um, and for me, it's just as simple as, like, this is my world. Like, most of the people in my world are um, queer, uh, and so that's what I want to see. And I've just seen a lot of hetero stories, so I think it's nice to um, it's like it's nice variety. We need more.
Exactly. Okay, great. Congratulations on the film. Congratulations on the distributions. Congratulations on the new addition to your family.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sure audiences are going to love Cora Bora. Cora Bora plays it out on film on Friday, September the 22nd at 7 p.m. At the Midtown Arts Cinema. I'm sure you're going to love it. Thanks so much, Hannah.
Thank you.